Question 20 says which factorization can be used to reveal the zeros of the following function? Factorization. I really want people to be comfortable with this idea called factoring. Factoring is going to probably happen on this test. And so factoring is an example where you get a three-piece called a trinomial, and you're trying to break it into these two parentheses. So what the real big idea is looking at the back number, understanding I need to multiply to make that number, and I need to add to make the middle number. Now, this is basic factoring, but if you think about ways to multiply to 10, we could come in and say, okay, 1 times 10 and 2 times 5. But 1 plus 10 doesn't make 7. That's why they use the 2 and the 5, because 2 plus 5 made 7. You had a question like this on the previous question, and that was kind of a more complicated question. But we kind of made this chart understanding we're multiplying to find these boxes. But there's a big theme that we're going to use to understand how to get this answer a little quicker. And that's this idea that the first box never changes and the last box never changes. So if I was to kind of reverse this question and think, okay, what is an x times a 2x? Because that would be the first thing in that box. Well, that's going to be a 2x squared. And that's what I have here. But what's interesting is every one of them says that x times 2x, x times 2x, 2x times x, 2x. That's not going to get us to the answer here. But what can also help us is knowing that the last number doesn't change. And so if I do the back times the back, and I'm going to highlight that in these first ones. So what is 2 times 1? Well, already you know that 2 times 1 is what? Positive 2. And what am I supposed to have in the back? You're right, a negative 2. And if you go down this whole question, a negative times a negative, that would be a positive 2. A positive times a positive, that's a positive 2. A negative times a negative is a there is only one question that yields negative 2, which means B is my answer. Now, let's be honest. I'm the math teacher. I see things before other people are going to see them, and that's unfair. But I want you to remember you're looking for patterns and tricks. So if you needed to do all the work, that very first question, I would come say x plus 2, 2x plus 1, and then you would kind of multiply it out. I don't think you have to do that here. Remember that first box doesn't change, the last box doesn't change, and then what happens is you bring these together. So here, the 4 and the 1, that doesn't get me the number negative 3. Let's double check my answer because that's the one I thought it might have been. So I'm going to say x minus 2. And now I have a 2x plus 1. Again, the 2x squared was for all of them. Here's a 1 times 1, which is 1x. 2 times negative 2 is negative 4x. And negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. So I have the front part. We knew I had the back part. And what comes in the middle? Negative 4 plus 1 is negative 3x. It just verifies that we have the right answer. So that could be a strategy. Isolate one or two that you think, test those out, and that'll hopefully help you get an answer quicker. Good luck. Keep up the hard work.